to another wonderful edition of City Make Spence, the post-City clinching home playoff spot, Detroit City FC clinching home playoff spot.
Yes.
At time of recording this is 7:38 Thursday, October 24th, 2024. Garrett here in the Metro East, Adam in the Metro West. How's your household? A little healthier than the week before, mate?
It's all good. He's actually sitting right over kind of next to me, so no more coughing. If this was last week, you would have heard him coughing in the background. But yeah, everything's good.
We also might see some cat cameos too. It seemed like Simon made his impact during the match on Saturday. Apparently, we had this, which I've never seen it before at the media tent. But yeah, so if you see the Fuzzball, it's Simon or Penelope.
Yeah.
I am here for all cat content. I think I'm on Twitter mostly because I don't want to get rid of my huge cascade of cat media that I follow on there.
Yeah, all with the cat content. More cat content, please. And then the man behind City Make Spence. The man looking like he's in darkness right now, but he brings
in the darkness.
So he's a great counteracting. Sean Spence, the man, the myth, the legend. How are you today?
I'm pretty well. I don't work tomorrow, so this is the beginning of my weekend.
Oh, sure.
That's nice.
And it's nice to get away from the pizza place for a minute.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So it's Friday Eve, or beginning of 2 Fridays for Sean. We have talk about a wonderful weekend that transpired. So when we last left off, Detroit City had just clinched playoffs against Indy 11 in a 0-0 draw, kind of a bittersweet feeling. We were talking about the Miami FC and bottom feeders to the Eastern Conference, bottom feeders to USL Championship. I wasn't gonna go, but fate stepped in a great way. Sean coming to the match, others coming at new equipment, all these wonderful things, a glorious day at Keyword. And I am really glad to say that I was at the game for many reasons. First off, Detroit City FC defeats Miami 3-0, clinching a home playoff spot. 2, we got to witness post-City Centurion recognition of the latest edition around the City Centurions in Reese Williams and Michael Bryant, and Maxi Rodriguez, and that one at a Black Arrow. And also we'll talk about maybe one of the most awesome experiences you could see in a Detroit City match in person. Yeah, I'm fucking teasing it that much.
Yeah.
But let's go into the match, or as I'm going to refer to it as, there's this A Day to Remember song that I know. I don't know what it's called, but it has this aggressive breakdown, and Adams might have seen it because as a pro wrestling fan like me, I think they modified it with like a Billy Kay clip from the Iconics, and the breakdown is growl, scream, disrespect your surroundings. Saturday's match, disrespect the Miami. Sean Spence, you made a great comment during I think you might have said it on Thursday when we recorded, but also when we were all gathered in our media confines of how feckless Miami looked.
Yeah, they look like a team that has like they've kind of lost the joy.
Yeah.
And so football played at a high level is extremely mentally demanding, and they just weren't doing the thinking work. They'd maybe beat a guy, get into an advantageous position, but not have thought about whether they have anybody in the box or whether there's any there's just no coordination. The team is just falling apart.
Right.
And I think, having played them now, you realize why, they're worse than they were when we played them before.
Yeah.
They are a worse team now. And it again, watching it live, it really did again make me wonder how in the world they are planning on being in this league again next year. Because the fact is that the way they're proposing to do this is as a developmental squad sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
They're trying a you don't win anything with kids save. The problem is these kids are getting their heads staved in 34 times, and after 10 or so, any rational human will start to avoid that pain, and disconnect a little bit. So if you're not going to attempt to put together competitive talent, you're not actually developing anyone, because you're just burning a year of their career in like the county jail, basically. And I don't think anybody goes to the county jail for development, I'm going to write my book in the county jail. No, you aren't. Like, you don't get permanent belongings in county jail. Like, they're going to throw your shit away. Um, so like, mm, I'm, I was really, I felt bad for them, like, for most of the match. And, like, we won 3-0, but we were under zero threat. Like, it was clear that we were going to keep the zero, and that was clear pretty early. And even moments where they had possession, they just sort of, we were too organized and sharp for them.
Yeah, the creativity that you and I were recognizing on their left wing, and I think it was Devin he was going up against, and he beat Devin, and he could have pumped the ball in the box with his left foot, but then he went back, and we're just like, it's like the void of confidence.
Right. Well, and it's, they're inexperienced players that aren't well rounded, and that is the thing he can do, and is beat a guy on the dribble. And so a part of him just wants to keep doing that,
Yeah.
But a mature player that's not feckless doesn't beat the guy, get the step, and then immediately give it up to pull the ball back and try to do it again. Like, no, you've done that. Like, and at that point, a mature player is like head up and looking for runs. You're trying to figure out if you can go back, if you're going back post or near post. If you've got that split second to kind of figure out pass or shot, and then you're making a decision. And instead, he's like, let's do it again, And the second time, Devin stoned him, because Devin doesn't lose. Like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that twice in a row to Devin.
The first time, he's like, you're not doing this again.
Right. He was like, Devin is sort of internally furious. He's fuming, like, oh, this guy like owned me. And then, like, thankfully the dude held up. So Devin, was like, yeah, not again, man. Like, what? Seriously? I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah, that was in like the second minute. Like, that was really early.
Yeah.
And that was maybe their, like, one of their best moments of the match. Like, really was.
I'm gonna
with the ball.
I want to read some stats, because I think this is a good saying, and then Adam, if you want to chime in on there. One shot by Miami, wasn't on target. They had 2 blocks, 24 clearances, only won 27% of their aerial duels, 37% of duels total. Just, it reminded us, I think, of even worse than some of the 2 teams we've played. Like, at least when I look at some of the 2 teams who played in 22, when I looked at even us when we were at our most down last year, there was always still a sliver of fight to an extent. Maybe not as much as what we wanted in that moment, but it felt like, to quote a convo the 3 of us were having just before the red light hit, it was like this match was literally, and I look at our numbers, it wasn't like, okay, we weren't like playing, like, to quote Andy Ridgway, we weren't playing like Brazil out there, but it was 18 shots by us, 7 on target, 8 off, 3, like, 7 big chances, 5 of them missed. no offsides. It was 88% passes completed, 470 completed passes.
Right.
200 and 74% in completing accurate long balls. Crosses we were shit, but that's happened sometimes. 30 touches in the opposition box. Like you just look at it, it's basically what it was, to bring the discussion full circle, is the Miami came to a fight without any weapons, and we just beat the shit out of them with a mag light over and over again.
Yeah, it was like I said, I was one of the overriding emotions I was experiencing during the match was like kind of sadness for them. It's like, oh, this has got to be hard. Like, oh my God. Like, well, you know how long, everyone's feeling how long the length of the season right now.
Yeah.
It's that part of the year where you're kind of like, I mean, sure that you're close to the end, but like, whew. And like, imagine feeling that way and every match being like this, like where you're not, it is established very early that you are not on a competitive level with this team. Like that's, the opening stanzas, the first 5 minutes comprehensively established that like, you're not on our level. And that's what every match is like for them pretty much. They're getting like just stomped by like Hartford and North Carolina, and like those are the worst playoff teams. That they're right around that level, and like they're just crushing Miami. It really is like the kind of results you got from the two teams, but the thing about the two teams is they had a higher talent level.
Yeah.
This is a championship two team. Like it's a League One team, that's kind of too young for League One, really.
Like
Stable Nisa side.
Right. It does. Yeah.
Exactly. For League Two side.
Right. Put them like that. It's an interesting. Yeah. Like I'd like to see Miami against like LA Force. I think that'd be a competitive match.
Yeah. Like some of these teams that were like struggling, but you see Miami, they seem to be stable as a organization compared to some of these teams. Yeah. But they're not. But you're seeing skint resources on the field.
Right. So it's down to their owner. Like, I mean, they're not like, we are an outlier in this league, I would say, in that we are somewhat approximate a functional business in terms of profit and loss. We do not, like, yes, we've been losing some money since we joined USL. But 10 years from now, that'll be like a distant memory. That's once the stadium is in place, the money is going to flow in like crazy, and we're going to be one of the wealthy teams in the USL Championship, and just really off of our own revenues, not with the constant siphon. But most of these teams have an owner that puts in $2 to $5 million a year, and it's really just down to Miami's owner deciding he doesn't really want to do that anymore, I guess. But he doesn't, but still intends to like file the paperwork and keep a team going. It feels to me like he's dithering over what he wants to do with this, and all these players and the technical staff have paid the price for it. And I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of fools in the market, right? So maybe he could sell the team. But if you're taking a rational look at if Miami FC is something you would want to buy, you'd have to say absolutely not. Like there is no pathway to profitability or really even sustainability in the current market, like for a Miami team. I just don't see it.
The worst market you could be in right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like Vegas is so much better because it's Vegas people turn out for their local teams, the service staff and that stuff. And then
Yeah,
you also get
it's
the looky-loos who are like, hey, I'm in Vegas and there's also an NFL game. I'm in Vegas and there's also some soccer. That's cool.
And at back now too, you have a prominent name and an owner that didn't just when Jose Batista bought Vegas in the offseason, it was okay, is this a vanity project or is he actually going to make a move on this? And they've shocked us all. Because they were laughing. They were what Miami was slightly better.
Right. Yeah, it was just crazy clown show stuff. They really went like hard into the Bill Veeck, playbook of like, crazy promotions, and they had the llamas and the fucking, pool,
the hot tubs,
the hot tubs on the pitch, and
the shortest player ever to play in the Major League Baseball for the St. Louis Browns before they went to Bolton.
I mean, I think the track record of like the track record of athletes buying into lower league soccer is actually pretty laudatory. I think I haven't seen a lot of them that take over things and go full vanity. Like it seemed like Bautista, he's a guy who understands football a little bit, and he's like, we need to build this culture all the way down. It's going to take a little time. Let's be competent and run a decent football club, and just sort of not be gimmicky, just be good at the football. And that is refreshing. After what came before, I mean, Miami's owner could change his mind tomorrow and decide, okay, fuck this, and start buying up player. Write a check for $25 million to make next year special, and cobble together a team that's going to be very competitive in the USL Championship. Like, he's a very rich man. If he wanted to do it, he could, but it wouldn't make any business sense. Like, it's not like it would kickstart a revolution in Miami. Like, still no one's going to come. Like, you're in Miami.
I was going to say, to give people a rundown that may not know, Miami FC is owned by Ricardo Silva. Ricardo Silva had the Florida International University where they're playing from, the stadium named after him, although recently that's changed because now it's the Pitbull Arena, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe that's right.
Because, Mr. 305, which, people know. So to do that, and to be honest, with the probably more prominent thing that's been at Florida International University is my alma mater getting absolutely beat with a mag light by Florida International this earlier in September. So, point being, when you look at that market that they're in, and that's not even talking about the teams that are around them in Miami. You have the Stanley Cup champions who have made hockey a viable thing in Sunrise in Miami, which didn't seem possible 20 years ago. You have Inter Miami, basically the retirement project for Messi and the South American and every friend, and the Heat and all that. So you have to either give a focus and be good, or maybe fade away.
Well, I mean, Miami's a shitty. I mean, Florida in and of itself is a shitty market, collectively altogether. Right. Like professional sports teams never really do well there. Even if you're, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're the Heat, it doesn't matter if you're the Dolphins, it doesn't matter if you're the Rays, the Bucks. It's just all shit. What really sucks for the Miami FC is, like you were saying, Garrett, is they have the biggest football player in the world,
right,
playing right there in their city in Messi. And that's something they're never, ever going to be able to compete with.
Right. And Miami has a reputation as a city that really doesn't care about sports unless you seem to be approaching a pinnacle. It's like some sort of big thing they can all celebrate. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard to imagine being a successful enough USL Championship team that would be perceived by the general populace as like, this is something, wow, this is so stirring for our city. Like, it's the kind of thing that a Miamian is going to go, what? Like, no one fucking cares, you know? Um, you know, they don't really have a lot of like, it's not like Detroit or
Yeah.
Chicago, where like civic pride is kind of a like something you either acquire or get your ass kicked.
We came for breakfast. We're used to.
Right. You know, and the, you know, let's be real, they're just not used to pissing excellence like we are. So, um,
Oh, fucking
the,
Ricky Bobby Rob. Good
yeah,
friends.
yeah, you know, I feel like I've said enough about them at this point. Like,
So why don't we get?
they're
Yeah.
sad.
Why don't we
Let's,
transition over to Reese
Two quick
Williams?
things.
Yeah.
Couple quick things. One, it was I wanted I just piggybacking a little bit off of what Spence was saying when we first started recording about just teams, young teams and then young teams getting their shit kicked in. Um, some people may think, oh well, that's great. You put a young team out there, they're going to get experience. There is such a thing as getting bad experience or
right.
that type of experience and doing more harm than good. And I think about I go back to the '03 Tigers
Ooh,
and the young team that the Tigers had then, and a pitcher named Jeremy Bonderman, who was supposed to be this shutdown ace.
Yeah,
Um,
great stuff.
great stuff, but he never ended up reaching that full potential that he could have had. And I think it was because of that '03 season that he had, where just pitcher after pitcher after pitcher was just getting annihilated by the competition.
Mike Burrow.
And that's what's happening with Miami. And like you said too, Spence, this isn't a two team. This isn't a two MLS team where they have talent. It's just, they're just playing in a league where the talent they're going up against is a little bit better than them. Yeah, that Miami team, yeah, maybe a League Two team, maybe a NISA team. Put them up against the quote unquote NISA champion LA Force this year. Who knows what they can do? One thing I did notice though, and I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, hanging out at the media tent on Saturday. One thing you usually see over there is a lot of players for the opposing team warming up. You didn't
Yeah,
really see that a whole
three,
lot.
three or
You
four.
saw, I saw two players warming up for the other team. Did they just have two players on,
No,
as a reserve, or were there just not guys warming up? That's
they had two different sets of two guys.
Yeah.
okay.
There was an earlier set and then the later guys. I don't know if they even got subbed in. I think they um I don't remember exactly. But like yeah, they didn't um you know, I mean, they really gave such a playing out the string vibe. Like just
You look at it.
let's just get this over with.
You look
Yeah,
at it
I
also.
remember. I remember Sacramento. They had their entire bench. It seemed like over in the media
I
tent,
mean,
basically
it's kind
warming
of a
up.
normal thing to do, you know,
Yeah,
like say, okay, you know, 55th minute, everybody get up and go kind of get warm.
they'll
Like,
have their
because
assistant coach. Yeah.
right, well, there's a couple reasons. Like for, you know, you never know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And it's, you know, 55th minute onward is usually when you start like a little more injuries happen, fatigue is setting in, you know,
Yep.
the joints are less protected. Um, the um and the other thing is you don't want to tip your hand as to what you're doing, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't want to like here's the two guys I'm considering putting in. Like, okay, well, like that is useful information in the middle of a match if you're competing, but that again goes back to the kind of impression that they weren't really competing. Like it's the way you would do it in like, you know, youth football.
You're
Like
used to also.
like, oh, I'm going to sub you in 5 minutes. Go run around for a minute.
I was gonna say you're used to also when you have everybody warming up by you. So you're used to a lot of chatter from whether it's coaches like performance coaches and the opposing teams warming up. But like Indy in particular last week was notable. Like what ref, like getting into it, there was not a fucking peep.
Yeah, I mean, it is a different thing. Indy, and Indy's competitive with us, and so they're really into it. And we're rivals at this point, I think. And so, right, but Miami, it's completely different. They're just like.
I think it's also too interesting with Miami because Miami were our last home game of 2022, where we were the ones that didn't turn up in a match that are where we were going to be in the playoffs.
That was a much better Miami team.
Yeah, but that's my point.
Yeah.
The Miami team was 6th in the playoffs in 2022. The last year they lost in the final day, which meant that we got the last spot instead of them. So it was just instead of these things, and they made the playoffs. I think they made the playoffs the year before, or they were close to. I'm trying to remember. But point being is, it's almost they just said fuck it this year. We're not going to do. They did a USL Championship version of Major League.
I mean, yeah, kind of. That's what it looks like. And I mean, I don't know. I'm sure the league isn't thrilled, but I don't know that there's anything they can do about it. If you're committed to being a league of clubs and not like an artificial like labor fucking monster league like MLS or NFL or whatever, then you kind of got to let them sink and swim on their own merits. Maybe this prompts everybody to put in some kind of salary floor discussions, yeah, because I have a feeling that that's what's going on here is like these are guys making part-time money for full-time work.
Just
they're just it's probably a bunch of league minimum contracts, which is what, $30,000.
Yeah, I think that's the CBA.
Right. And I'm sure within the CBA there's ways to register youth players, younger players as I mean, like Dom was. Dom was not fully professional until he signed that new deal. Or when I'm sorry. When he signed the 5-year deal, up till then, he was technically still an academy player. And, there's riders on that where if you, like, there's appearance fees and stuff like that. But he was, extremely affordable, let's say, while playing, important minutes for us last year. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of let's talk about something much cooler than Miami FC.
Yeah. Adam got the prediction right with the score.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yay.
I'm thankful that my prediction was wrong.
Oh yeah, because you predicted Miami was going to score first.
Yeah.
I got Reese Williams right. I was happy about that. Which one did you, Adam? Did you take Kisiedu as well? Or was that?
I can't remember if I picked Kisiedu.
I did not pick Kisiedu. I know that.
I'll be picking him often from now on because that finish was fucking lethal. That was a finisher's finish. Like he took that ball down and like he's just like, oh, I got plenty of room for this. Like,
and then he hit the gritty afterwards. That was great.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, this is great. I mean, we got a lone ringer. Like he's a straight up ringer. It's great. Yeah, there's something I found out is that we really don't have. I don't think I said this last week. We really don't have an option to sign Laurent after this season. What happened was he was playing and being productive in the Czech side that he's playing for. Right, but I think that they maybe don't have a lot of international players, and they messed up something with his visa application. So he had begun playing the season, and then got notified. The club got notified, like, "Whoop, you got to apply for the visa all over again." And so, like, he wasn't going to be able to play for like months while they do this. And
so the club messed up his visa.
I think they messed up his visa paperwork with the, because the club handles that stuff. When you're going overseas, the club kind of handles it for you, and there's things you have to do. He had to go to, probably he had to go home, and go to the governmental agencies and whatever at home. Um, but so we just got him on like a 3-month loan, basically to keep him warm and in good form, while they get that snafu untangled. So we've got him for the rest of our season.
I hope they mess it up next year too.
Right? Yeah, maybe they'll bundle it. We'll be in there. But I mean, like, so he's he really is a stretch run ringer that we've added, because Trev works the phones all the time and like keeps all the connections open, and he heard of that and was like, hey, you wanna play, like
Fun thing also too, because of this, Pardubice, Laurent Kissiedu's Czech club, are currently next to the bottom. They're in the relegation zone. 11 games played, 2 wins, 1 draw, 8 losses, 9 scored, 18 allowed. They're in the relegation. I'm sorry, the relegation qualification, because it looks like the Czech Liga does that. The first does that play where they have everything, and then the first top. So it's 16 clubs. The top 6 are in what's called the championship playoff. Then you have the Europa Conference League playoff group from teams 7 to 10, and then 11 to 16. So it basically splits the.
So the cream of the crop split off and play each other, and the shitties split off and play the shitty league.
And depending on how you get relegated.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a shitty to shitty heads on battle. That's okay. That's there are so many wild league structures in the world of football. It's just crazy.
I don't understand European soccer playoffs, because I see it when it's not just the Czechs, it's Austria, it's Belgium, it's Scotland even too, and I'm like, well,
yeah.
I can't read it.
Okay.
But yeah, so Reese Williams saw a goal, great performance in Connor Rotz. Glad that it was only a 1-game red. Laurent being an assassin for hire, basically. And a moment took place in the 95th minute. So you get in the game, get in the Keyworth. I'm thinking, oh, here's the lineup. Steve, Carroll's and everything like that. Except Steve Carroll's not the captain that day for Detroit City FC. Nate Steinwascher comes out with the kids. Buddy JR, who handles photography for NGS, amongst other things, he noticed that there was like one of those special match pennants that you see for like those big, like when you see like big matches and everything, kind of like some of the pennants you see at City Clubhouse in the back corner. And
usually you exchange with the other team, but this was a different thing.
Yeah. So 95th minute happens. Foul happens in the box. Well, it was actually a little bit before that, because it took a couple minutes for this to happen. If I'm not bringing the game up right here, Miami went down to 10 men because of that, if I believe, because that was the denial of a goal scoring opportunity. It looks like substitute Elvis Amo was going to be taking the penalty, which we were kind of, okay, it's good. Elvis gets an opportunity to back a goal. Actually, there was not a red card. It was a yellow card for Felipe Rodriguez in the 94th minute. So there's a bit of a delay. And then you just hear this crowd noise start to build up. And Elvis kind of moves away to the side. And running up, or sprinting, or jogging up, is goalkeeper Nate Steinwascher to take the penalty. Where all of us, whether you were a club employee in the media tent, whether you were Adam, whether you were Sean, right? We got as close as we could to the fucking touchline in the pitch without being on the fucking pitch. A little more closer than perhaps you normally would, because you're seeing this moment happen in front of you. People are pulling out their phones more so like they're at a fucking, because this is, what are we seeing here? Steinwascher top bins penalty, basically the last kick of the game. 3-0. Let's talk about the moment, gents. I think I referred to it, I think, to group as this kind of like a Rudy or kind of like our Rudy moment, but maybe cooler than that. What about y'all?
Go ahead, Sean.
You know, I was standing really close to where I was standing in May of 2018 when Nate was in goal in another penalty shootout and laid out to his right and got his fingers to a shot and directed it around the his right post and won us an Open Cup match against the Flint City Bucks. And it was so when the teams are coming out, I think Garret had already remarked on Nate being captain. It's like, okay, like, huh. But then Nate came out, carrying a little banner with his children. He brought his children were with him.
2 boys.
And I think everyone in the meet, like it all just I can't remember who said it. Somebody's like, "Oh, Nate's going to retire," and
connecting the dots,
and like everyone was like, "Oh, wow, okay, wow." So, it kind of recontextualized the match in that moment, I think, and so. The other thing that I really, if you go back and rewatch the moments before Nate's penalty kick, he jogs up and Elvis is holding the ball and standing at the spot, like to keep shenanigans from happening, and he and Nate stop and have a word, and I think that Elvis is, I don't think he was seriously saying like, I don't want you to take this penalty kick. I want to take it. But I think he's kind of like, I could use this too. Are you sure? Are you got this? And Nate so had it. It is likely that was his final kick of the football as a professional. And he went right through, it's like he aimed it where the keeper's head was.
Yeah.
And hit it like really well. And it hit the join of the roof twine and the back twine. Like that's where it kind of stuck up in the crux of it, like perfect. Like it just absolutely demolished it, like so clean. And like you could really imagine how easy it would be for that to go into the playground,
Hey Sean.
Yeah.
That's the same exact because I'm remembering now. That's the same exact kick that Harry Kane skied one on in the World Cup. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah, Nate better than Harry Kane confirmed. Yeah. Sorry, Jarrett. Like the facts are on the table.
Nate's one more.
Mackie would be okay. I think Mackie would be okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I still haven't written about it because I feel a little bit overwhelmed, if I'm honest. Like Nate has literally been here from the start. He, at the first year he didn't play. He was like the practice keeper, the third keeper. He was like the local guy from Oakland University who showed up at practice. Right? That's been a kind of a fixture. There's usually there's a local guy from one of the colleges in the area who's pretty good and who's there to, just kind of like be an emergency keeper and get reps and like kind of get looked at, it's because keeping's tough. Like there's only one, right? It's very difficult to wrestle time in that position. And he's been so good. Uh, despite consistently being like really almost he has not entered a season as the undisputed number one really until the last couple of years. Um, he has had to fight for his place on the pitch like pretty consistently because he's not 6'3", and when you watch a really tall keeper, you see what the advantage is. You're like, okay, they're just sort of, biomechanical advantages to having much longer limbs happening in that limited space. And, Nate overcame all that consistently. But time is undefeated and he's got other shit to do. And he's going to, probably he's getting a pay raise because he's quitting football. And like a stone cold legend, absolutely, absolutely get it, paint one of a profile of him and hang it up in the fucking clubhouse. Like,
I think he already
you
has.
know. Well, I mean, I'm not talking about the velvet painting. I'm talking. I think he is in those paintings, because he's been here. Like he's been here the whole fucking time, and I think I don't know that I am ready for the sort of emotional unbundling that is going to happen when the spine of this team becomes the next generation of guys, because so many of this group are people that we kind of identified early and who've been with us for a while. And all these Centurions were, at the end of the season, we've been every match. There's like another guy who's like been here, played 100 matches, and like Devin, who's one of the best players of that group, isn't yet there because he got hurt. So we're going to have more next spring. And I am emotional about Nate's leaving, because I've always liked Nate. I think he's really good, and he is a link to a club that, if we're honest, no longer exists, that I really loved.
It's funny too, Spence, because when you look at this team and when you look at when this team was making the transition from NISA to USL Championship,
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the biggest, I guess, criticisms towards this club when they were announcing players was Nate, it seemed like. There were a lot of City supporters that had, I don't know if contempt is the right word, or maybe even disappointment, but
Overly concerned.
yes, it seemed like people didn't want Nate here. They were appreciative of what he did in NPSL and NISA, but once we made the jump to USL Championship, you know what? Okay, it was a cute story and
Yeah.
it worked for the amateurs. It worked for, the third division. But now that we're in championship, we need to get a real keeper. We need to get somebody.
Right.
We need to get like an Evan Lorio, who, somebody who is,
Right. Who
six
blew
three,
out his
six
knee and
four.
retired like the moment
Exactly.
we entered the championship.
Yeah. And Nate came in and not only silenced those critics by being a good USL championship keeper, but he silenced them in a way by saying, you know what? I am arguably the best keeper in USL
Yeah.
championship. Yes, there's the Jordan Fars, there's these other guys, but Nate has always been in that conversation since 2022 up until now of being one of, if not the best keeper in
Yeah.
second division soccer in the United States.
You know,
I
go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like knowing, like, since I've been in the going to club stuff with Detroit City since 2017, Nate Steinwascher, Stephen Carroll have been names that have been like, as I've gone down this road, whether it's a guy in gold just drinking with the Ridgeways, to get in the supporter end of it, and now in this supporter media, whatever we want to call it, you see Nate Steinwascher's been as much constant as Stephen Carroll. Like, I think back to October of 2019, making the trip to Chattanooga. First City player I got to have a beer with post-match and shoot the shit with was Nate Steinwascher. And, people, Adam, you talked about all that, Nate proving people wrong. Spence, you talked about how good he was. For people that don't really understand soccer, he gave the attention to soccer like it was his main full-time thing while having a full-time CPA gig.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was about to say, is that like when I was running the clubhouse and like the whole time we were developing that space, and I was working for the club. If people don't know, I worked for the club for a couple years. Nate was the number one grinder of every player we have. He was always in there. Like that's why, there were moments where I was thinking, okay, well, like we're gonna have to see how Nate handles this step up. But I never really, like, he worked on his game so hard and so intelligently. Like you could see him working on things. He played tons of indoor because, and like we talked about it, like because indoor, the keeper is literally also usually a sweeper. You typically move out a goal and form a two-man back line with the defender.
See the indoor
And
better as a keeper from my own personal experience of doing that.
right. So like, it's basically he wanted to, like, he had to overcome, like, the player you see now is a player that has really, really worked incredibly hard to address the problems that he had as a semi-pro, where he wasn't comfortable with on his left, and he struggled with decision making sometimes, like whether to come out or whether to stay, and because of that, he would get caught up in traffic because he isn't very tall, and so he really worked on, like, you can see he's a good bit thicker than an average goalkeeper, and part of that is just because he knows that by being massy, he can plow through those areas. He's basically like, okay, I need to be built like a fullback, kind of, because I'm going to be going through traffic to get the ball, and it's fallen off this year, but his distribution the first 2 years in the league was at times astonishingly good, just so much better than I would have ever dreamt 2018 Nate from pulling off, spraying balls with out to the wing, like skipping one layer and putting it on a dime to do, like, kind of up in midfield on the sideline. I he was functioning as an important part of our press break, and that's not, that's kind of extra. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that most people would have been satisfied if he was, given how good he is at stopping shots, if he had, just been functional with his feet. But he worked to make himself like a plus factor in every phase of the game. And that's why when he played poorly at the beginning of the year, it was so, like, kind of glaring. Hello to El Gato.
They're
Yeah.
both right by me right
Oh
now.
hi. Oh hi. Oh God. I'm so excited. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I just he surprised me with how good he was in 22 and 23. And I once that kind of realization set in after as they're announcing the lineups, I kind of like, okay, this makes sense. Like, I'm guessing that he's probably looking at it and going, okay, well, I just had less time this off season, got more kids, got more work, and the slippage is showing. I can't keep it at this level, and do right by my family. Like I gotta cut something out, and football is inevitably the thing. Um, but he will be missed. Uh, you know, just a
And that's
and I
something that
and he'll
I'm
be
sorry.
he'll be a legend. He's going to come back to city matches and bring the kids back, and everyone going to be in the suites, and we're going to get that over the next few years. We're going to have dudes retiring and living here. Stevie Carroll eventually will turn up and just be like Stevie Carroll, former captain of Detroit City. you know um so I don't know, it's sad but cool, I guess. And I know that we all wish him all the best.
What were you about to say, Adam?
Oh no, it's uh, yeah. I mean we're connecting all the dots here, and um, there's something very respectable about a player who doesn't hold on too long, because great players, and Nate Steinwasher is a great player. Um, oftentimes that's a term that's thrown around a little too much. But me personally, I can safely say that Nate Steinwasher is a great player. Um, and that's something that sometimes great players tend to do, is they tend to hold on too long. Um, does Nate have some more left in the tank? In my opinion, I think he does, but he's getting out in a point right now. It seems like, I don't want to, like I said, we're connecting the dots on this. Um,
Yeah, we don't. We're. It's not like we've. He
Nate
hasn't
has,
announced anything. He's
yeah,
and he'll do that in his own time. But I mean, it's also it would like I have seen it suggested that we all need to obey some kind of omerta in public about
yeah.
like, until Nate says something. Like, that's just not how media works, man. Like, I'm sorry, but we live in the world. And
It's
you
it's
know,
it's a it's a discussion. It's a discussion right now,
right.
because it's out there. It's out there, and yes, Nate will. I'm assuming there's going to be an announcement at some point.
I'm sure that, yeah,
Um,
they
if
need to
that's
do it
if
upright,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
but I
Um,
also think that what happened was Danny came to him and said, "Listen, I'm going to start you, but then you're done. Carlos is going to be our goalkeeper, and I just want to, in case you have any thoughts about that, I'm going to let you know that's what's up." And Nate was like, "Okay, yeah, well, here's the things I want to do in my last match." Um,
I want to
now
score
I
a
don't,
goal.
the penalty, I think, was just like, it was just one of the, I think it, once they got the penalty called, I think it kind of dawned on the players, like, this is something else they could do. Like, oh shit, that would be so, oh my God. Like, I think they kind of, like, I don't think it was really super planned, because it took
So,
Nate a while to get up there. He didn't just like see the penalty call and start running. Like, he's standing back
Yeah,
there,
no,
like, okay.
so was Danny kind of like,
I didn't see what Danny was
ex-
doing. I was really
was he
watching the
was he
players.
was he exhaling though, and thinking that he didn't have to start Nate up at forward, so Nate can get his final goal?
didn't Nate used to play as a striker?
I mean, I think every professional player probably was a striker if you go back far enough.
Sure.
Uh,
When he
it's
was
like,
eight,
yeah,
playing.
the U10s, you know,
Um,
yeah.
You know,
somewhere
But,
somewhere
you
around
know,
age 12, like, the heartbreak of slowness, like, oh,
yeah, but
time to put on the
what
gloves.
I was just getting at is that it's nice to see sometimes great players finish out when they are
Yeah,
still
yeah.
great. I
Well,
mean, because we've seen it.
honestly, as you were saying that, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, it is something that you see a lot and that great players do a lot. But I think it's more like everyone wants to do it. Like, if
Mhm.
you if you like if you've been a professional long enough that you enjoy the lifestyle, you enjoy the rhythm of it, there is no job in the world that has that rhythm. And um coaching is different than playing. And even if you're there on the pitch kind of at the same time, like your process is entirely different. It's much less selfish, much less self-motive, involved. So, and you know playing, if you're a person who hasn't done team sports and you're listening to this, like, um maybe you've done like band or music, um that moment where you're a small part of a larger thing, and that thing is working and it's hitting, like, that is spectacularly rewarding. Like, it feels amazing, um just like in your limbic system, um and so it is difficult to let go of. Great players are afforded the opportunity to make a bad decision, where if you're less great, they're just like, your ass is done.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
um, you know, appreciate everything you've given. Um, and so, yeah, I agree that it's cool to see Nate step sideways before, jump before he's pushed. Bravo, sir.
Adam, you're gonna love this because I remember I think the club put out a quick video of the moment Nate walking up, taking the penalty from the match feed, and you see Elvis Amo hand them the ball, and they have that moment together. Adam, it reminded me of the Godfather, first Godfather.
What was he saying? Was he calling Elvis Fredo?
No, no. You know this scene, Michael leaves the house to go have the dinner with McCluskey and Salazzo, and he sees Sonny, and it turns out to be the last time. And they have like that kiss on the cheek and the big hug, and Sonny's like, "Don't worry, I'll sort it out with Mom for you leaving so quickly." Right? The way that hug and like Elvis, because Elvis, as a moment, Elvis is very um I was like very personable, just like, dude, like when you give him in a handshake line, he wants to sometimes give you the hug too, because
Yeah,
he's a gentle dude.
right. Yeah, he kind of just exudes like kind of an empathetic, warm vibe.
Yeah.
Just a nice guy.
So, and Nate has that bit too. So when you see that moment, and you're like, I don't know if it was like that handshake, close hug, maybe like he said, Chico, fucking do this. I was like, all right, this is really fucking cool. Like to see it from that vantage point. Um, I think, yeah, and it's a special moment, and I think it's like we'll know everything as it gets with this, see when the season eventually ends, whenever that is, and gets to it. But it also is this is a very in transition year when you also think of Matt Lewis retiring just before the season started,
Yeah.
quicker than I think he was planning to as well, because the original thing for Matt was at the end of this season was
Right.
going to be last
Yeah.
season.
The idea was he was going to, announce halfway through the season that, like, yeah, I'm done after the end of the season. But
And,
yeah, he was supposed to be part of the team.
and I'm fortunate enough to know that early on. But point being is, Sean, you've mentioned this. We felt a little bit like this. I remember, like, those that have been with this club going to games, being involved. I know you've been going since 2014 to 2012, when it was the end for Seb Harris, when it was the end for Dave Edwardson.
Mm.
How a lot of us felt Nisa to USL when the end for Cyrus Sadie, George Chamakoff, Ronnie Green, a lot of those
Yeah.
guys that were, and with some Sean Claude Lawson, like with a lot of these guys, like a lot of these
Yeah.
guys are maybe they should have gotten a moment on there, but you can't go back and change time. But
well, it's different when you're getting cut.
yeah,
If you enter preseason with the team and they cut you loose, like now, I don't want to go back and relitigate this, but the Cyrus one is the one that absolutely kills me. Like it's stuck in my craw to an extent that I have a hard time explaining. But he was part of the plan when we went pro, and then he kind of, I think he got the message that he could take whatever time he wanted to think it over, whether he wanted to commit to this hardcore lifestyle, because I mean, we're becoming a full-blown pro, like training hours a day, and and he said, took his time getting back to them because he thought he'd been reassured, and then we spent up the budget in his absence, and then when he came back, it was like, pull out the pockets, like and to me, like you just Cyrus was not Cyrus is a guy that really, really would have helped us the last 2 years. That he would have retired probably after last year, right? But I mean, as a depth piece, as an attacking kind of difference maker, as a guy who plays a different way, like holy shit, could we have used that in 2022 and 23? So I'm sorry, that was a little diversion, but I just want to me, Cyrus Sadie is one of the top 5 City players ever, maybe one of the top 2 ever, and I wish he had played in the USL with us.
Yeah. The first player announced by Detroit City, if I'm not mistaken, when they started in 2012. The first player announced when Detroit City went to Nice and became a fully professional side. So we were thinking at that moment, we're like, yeah, he'll be the first one announced for USL Championship. And then when that wasn't, c'est la vie, unfortunate. But
yeah.
this is a good connection now to this coming weekend. The first game that we played in the USL Championship, I had the pleasure of being in the stands in a fucking freezing cold version of San Antonio, Texas.
I know. It was so weird.
It was 30 degrees, 35.
Yeah. Really windy, right?
Yeah, my buddy Big Ray, as you know. Granted, he had been imbibing with the buds. He was fucking sitting down shivering at the end of that match.
Yeah.
That's how cold it was. And the boy is a big dude. Dude wears
shorts. When you live in Texas, you're not accustomed to cold temperatures. Your body's not. You don't have the wardrobe for it.
Yeah.
When I moved north I lived in Houston area for 5 years, and I'd gotten rid of all my warm stuff. Like, I had like a kind of a thin sweatshirt that I would wear like those 2 days a year that it's like under 50 in Houston. But like, all that, you get rid of all that stuff the first year you live there. You're just like, oh, I'm never going to use this. Like never. Anyway.
But that game.
Yeah.
Detroit City lost 1-0. Nate Steinwascher proved that he does belong saving a San Antonio penalty attempt.
Yep.
It's funny that the first game of this era was let me remember the date now, because March 12th, 22. And fast forward 31 months. There we go. I knew my brain's working. To October 26th, 2024. 9:30 p.m. Eastern for some god-awful fucking reason. San Antonio FC, who, as of this past weekend, will not be making the Western Conference playoffs.
Yeah.
Sorry, Harry. Taking on a Detroit City FC side who are in the Eastern Conference playoffs, who are a home confirmed, and a hometown boy coming home in Maxi Rodriguez.
Right.
at least probably 50 to 100 of his closest friends and family going to be in the stands, maybe even more.
Yeah, he'll have a sizable block there, and it's interesting. When we played San Antonio, they were considered one of the big dogs in the league. That going into that first match, like it was, I think they had
conference final the year before.
They'd been in the conference final, right? And we got a draw, or
they won 1-0.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't get a draw. We didn't score.
But it was a late fluky goal.
Right. Yeah.
And Nate stoned him on that penalty too.
He did. I do remember that. The thing I remember is that that was considered like really encouraging. Like, I remember coming out of that match like, okay, we're going to be okay. Like, we were really worried that we were just going to get our heads caved in. Like it was going to be a Miami FC kind of situation. And I think the players and the staff were worried. Like very few of them had very much experience, except for Maxi, really, at this level. Maxi and Antoine.
That's what Haney do, because he started that game.
Oh, that's right.
And Dunwell. But yeah, but that was it.
Dunwell was he that first year? Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Our roles have sort of switched in the intervening time. We're seen as, one of the big draw probably, in the league, and one of the up and coming kind of strong programs in the league. And San Antonio has kind of maybe lost their way a little bit. They've had a rough season, and this is a dead rubber for them. Yeah. Having said that, I don't think we could face like motivational difficulties in this match. We've got to you've got a match the week after that's a much bigger deal that you're kind of telling yourself you can't focus on, but of course you're focusing on it. And you're kind of wondering who you're going to play, and you're looking at the thing. You're probably talking about it, even if the coaches are saying don't talk about it, then you're waiting until you're walking to your cars, and then you're talking about it. Like, yeah. So, like, that we're, I wouldn't be shocked if we went out and laid it, like, just put out an absolute stinker. Just the kind of, pre-cup match kind of thing that happens in football, or like suddenly, and because football is so much chaos, like it doesn't take much being a little mentally disorganized to make it all just come unsprung. Yeah. So I say that because I'm sure that at some level the staff, the technical staff, are preparing for that possibility. Like, okay, how are we going to talk about it if we just like drop a turd down in San Antonio? And having said that, I think that we should be favored. I think Maxi has been playing very well, and he will be highly motivated to have an impact on this match. But he's highly motivated most of the time. Like, it's not like that's a huge difference. Like, oh man, Max is really into it. Like, well, I mean, what, like the last like 10 matches, he's been really into it. You know what I'm saying? So it may not look a lot different, is what I'm saying.
The real quick on Maxi, Black Arrow winner. It was funny because it was maybe my favorite acceptance speech I've got to see in person. Because without,
he described himself as a little bit of an asshole. Like that was the kind of takeaway. Was it like, hey, maybe I'm a little bit of an asshole, like
the three of us were chatting literally 90 seconds before, 2 minutes or two before everything, just talking about things, right? And segue, and then Maxi does this speech, and we're like, oh my god, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I kind of learned that Maxi's like while he's obviously hugely influential on the pitch, he's not like at the core of the social group within the team. Like, and I was sharing that with you, like, it's interesting, like, and you find that a lot. Like a lot of times, like the most persuasive player is kind of off in their own universe a little bit, and like that appears to be the situation here.
Hope with us, because I think Hopino has said the only person that was like me but not as much was Maxi. So you see, there's vibe. Like,
I mean, look, I am that guy, I'm weird and not like, like the life of the party, you know what I'm saying? Like I can be whatever, but like I'm a strong flavor, right? I have a feeling Maxi is like that. And whatever, like the dude can fucking play, like, and he's put it out there. I think he could have won Black Arrow any of the seasons he has played for us. He could be the 3-time defending Black Arrow, because he has been the best player on the team since he joined the team. And it's still true. Doesn't, like, we've added all this talent and it's still Maxi's still the dude. So like I'm glad the voting caught up with him.
And that moment was just great because we're like, you get what we're. That's not the first time he's done that. We cracked a joke in his Instagram maybe that gives like, had someone tell me I was glad for that or whatever it was when he ended his drought, and now like, okay,
we don't know that was us though. I mean,
yeah, totally.
Like put my journalist hat on, he could have been talking.
As you call Maxi Rodriguez the dude in this situation, the dude, he abides.
He does abide.
So he's home, Black Arrow in tow. Before I say the prediction that I said in 451 Tunnel Talk from earlier this week, Adam, which that one might be out, if not tonight, tomorrow, I'm guessing.
Out right now.
Out right now for any one of us to
look how tired Adam is. He clearly already did it.
Hardest one of the hardest working supporters. I want to say the hardest working supporter.
Yeah, number one. Yeah.
Feathers. Let's get some score predictions here. My agenda. So I referred to last week as disrespect the Miami. My note in Sean, what was my agenda note for describing this match?
Oh, shit. I don't remember. No. Oh, talk about disrespecting Miami. Is that what you're saying?
What am I referring to this? What did I refer to this as?
Fuck San Antonio.
Parentheses, predictions. You want to lead off?
1-0 to us. In a match that leaves us maybe a little bit frustrated and worried that our form is not like peaking as we enter the playoffs.
Who's your goal scorer?
Connor Rutz.
Ooh. All right, I like that. I'll explain why.
It goes with the scrappy nature of the contest. Like, this is going to be a Connor Rutz kind of match.
Adam, what about you, buddy?
2-1 City. I'm gonna go with Maxi in San Antonio, and is this the night that we see Zeed and Zeed scores a goal?
Ooh.
Does he score it? Does Zeed score it?
Zeed came on at the end of the match, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He's
healthy again.
I'm gonna go with Zeed.
I mean, Zeed, like having him get injured down the stretch run and come back for the playoffs is really a nice job of like kind of stealthing him. Because if they, they're not going to go back and watch us playing in April. They're going to watch these last, 5 matches, and he's gotten 0 minutes. And like as a changeup dude, he's just so useful. especially if you're protecting a lead. He's like, he'll just run in there and just carry them off of people and like make it a pain in the ass.
This is our
And
version. This is City's version of pitching chaos. Is
Yeah.
throwing
yeah,
Zeke out there.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
I think it's testament when you see guys like Connor Rutz and Yazid Matthews continue to work their way in and be valued enough to be in the squad, especially as we've, keep bringing in people. These guys through effort and stubbornness, probably, and and grind, find ways to continue to make an impact.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
you see
like,
that board in Texas. So
yeah, I think that it really is a testament to their mental strength because they've each been written off, repeatedly. And I mean, Yazid really more than Connor, but like each of them has really had to fight for minutes this season, and they've successfully done so. Like, Danny's not afraid to bury you if he thinks you suck. Daniel Espeleta, um,
there,
like, like you know what I'm saying? Like, so like the fact that Connor has gone from like, not making the bench to starting if he's healthy and available is wild.
He's been effective too, Sean.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, in a situation where you really need him to be an offensive fulcrum, it's going to just be frustrating because he's just.
Yeah.
But like as an additive, to an offense that's kind of working as a part of a defensive scheme, like he can cover so much ground, and do it consistently for 90 minutes. Like it's that is a huge skill in the modern game. I remember asking like when what's his ass? He plays for Man United now. They Chelsea inexplicably, what's his name?
Oh, you're talking about Raheem Sterling?
No. Chelsea sold him to Man United. Mason Mount.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Really reminds me of Mason Mount when he was like getting in the mix. Like he wasn't the best at anything, but he was an additive to every phase of the game, and covered a ton of ground. Like so similar in a lot of ways. And yeah, it's been cool to watch.
So Alan, I'm going to name some of the Tunnel Talk boys predictions before I get into. Alan was, a real concern. He went 0-0. Dennis went 3-1 or 4-1. Oh, you think that's bad? You think that's wild? Just wait, my friends.
He's drinking already.
Yeah.
Jaime, in true tradition, San Antonio 0, Detroit City 4. Now part of this. Now here we go to B. So,
I mean, if Jaime's prediction is right, like San Antonio will that will send reverberations through their organization. So, to get just like stomped at home to finish the season, they would kind of shit themselves, I think.
The death blow is the San Antonio organization.
So
sorry, go ahead.
We have a friend, I would say frenemy, baby, in the San Antonio fan base. Harry, I actually,
yeah,
2 years ago at the game briefly, and there shoots the shit with us all well in there, but we love to laugh at kind of his misery. Plus, I think he's also like Maxie, a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I love that even more for that fun shit, especially after two weekends ago. They went from winning the title 2 years ago to having an okay year last year, going heavy on the MLS Loney project this past year. Not 24, but 23. This year, kind of tapering off a little bit, being late in their roster announcements. Fan bases maybe, doesn't seem like the vibes are great. To now not even making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now you're home. This might be one part sarcastic manifestation by me, but there's also another part of me where I could see this happening. San Antonio 0. Detroit City 4. Maxi Rodriguez with a brace. Gets double digits. Finishes the league season with 11 goals. Ben Morris, I do remember Jaime, I think, did make a bet if he gets to 10. He's at 8 right now. I don't think Ben's going to get to 8, but to 10, but he's going to get his 9th. And like on Spence,
he's going to fall tantalizingly short. Sorry.
Connor Russell. So I am predicting San Antonio 0, Detroit City 4.
Wow.
Because fuck San Antonio. I love the city. It's such a great. San Antonio is a fun city to be in. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But I want to be there.
I lived there briefly on the north side and near the medical center. But like it was when everything was kind of being built up there. Like it's all built up now. Like I do not recognize it. Like, oh.
So you know where like the AT&T, what was the AT&T Center in Freeman Coliseum is, Sean, in the east side of San Antonio? That's where that's where Ray and I had like an Airbnb at.
Okay.
And like a ranch in there, and people are like, wait, there's an Airbnb here. Why isn't there an Airbnb here? But it was a cool, like, you know, you go in, it was cool places to be around. But then you go 10 minutes, like you're saying, you go 10 minutes west or into the area, like where Alamo Dome's at and historic St. Mary's, and then you get into the Riverwalk. Holy fuck.
Yeah. I played a show at the Riverwalk one time with, you know, when I was in the band, and we didn't reckon for how humid it's going to be right beside a still river in a really hot climate, and our you know, the violin and the guitar, which the violinist and I were playing, are made of wood. So they fell out of tune so rapidly that like by the middle of every song we were horrifically out of tune. Just like you could only keep a thing in tune for like a minute and a half. That was maybe the worst show I've ever played in my life. So the Riverwalk and I, like, we're not friends. You can't do me like that, Riverwalk.
I will say, going into March, the day after it got cold, it was starting to get warm. 85 with like 20% humidity in March is really fucking nice. I would not want to be there in the summertime when it, like you said, humid.
It was, you know, like we go out, you go out and you tune, and you go out and start playing. Like in the time it took us to walk from the tuning room, which is an air conditioned place, you know, kind of a little green room area, out to the actual stage, which was maybe 500 yards, you know. By the time we got to the stage, everything was out of tune already. So, you know, you kind of like, okay. So you've got like a patter that you use to cover tuning. So like we start getting into the things we talk about when we're tuning immediately. It turns into kind of a half stand-up show, half music. And like the music was terrible, the jokes were terrible. It was so corny and just like I just wanted to die.
It's like when my pun jokes are not hitting at all. Y'all.
So always.
Yeah, in multiple ways. Real quick to go around the Eastern Conference, because it gives an idea of some of the potential opponents. So a Detroit City draw clinches third place for them. You have right now, even the 11th and 10th place teams might be able, potentially, I don't think Birmingham and Loudoun are yet eliminated from Eastern Conference playoff things. They're both at 42 points at 10th and 11th. Hartford at 9th, 44 points, 1 point behind both Pittsburgh in 8th and North Carolina in 7th. Hartford drew at Tampa Bay yesterday in their makeup game. So everybody in the Eastern Conference has played 33 games. The Rowdies hold the 6th spot at 47 points. They would be, if the season did end before the weekend, they'd be our first round matchup. Rhode Island, a point ahead of them in 5th. They would be playing Indy 11. But we have the final weekend of matchups to play. So Charleston Battery, and who are confirmed second, host Loudoun United. That's at 6 p.m. Saturday night. North Carolina hosts Las Vegas Lights. That could be a tough one. Las Vegas Lights are second in the West. I think they are trying either have second locked up. No, they are only a point ahead of Sacramento and Colorado Springs and 2 points ahead of Memphis. So Vegas wants that to wrap up second spot. Pittsburgh Riverhounds have maybe the easiest matchup of them all. They host bottom of the West El Paso. Tampa Rowdies versus Indy. We all knew that was going to happen. That's what confirmed the home playoff match for us because we have the tiebreaker over both Tampa and Indy, and they can't catch us. Rhode Island hosts Miami. I will laugh if Rhode Island does not beat Miami. They should, but I will also laugh.
Well, Indy can still catch us.
Yeah, Indy with a win and a Detroit City
Indy could
loss,
get us.
with a win, Detroit City loss jumps us. But if we draw, we will both and Indy win. We'll both finish on 54. We have the tiebreaker.
Yes.
Birmingham Legion have to go to Oakland Roots. Legion have been sputtering. I could think they're done. A lot of their group think they're done too, it seems like. Hartford Athletic go to Orange County at 10. Difficult on paper, but Hartford have been fighting lately this last month. They might sneak in. So, lads, we could really be playing anybody at this given point from, I'd say, from Tampa to Hartford. So it would be Tampa, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Hartford.
Yeah, I think Tampa and Pittsburgh are the most likely. And it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Because they're, just looking at the vibe of each one of those. But it, if it's like really Pittsburgh is the one that I would like to avoid. Because it just presents too neatly as a revenge scenario for them. They are a team which has always given us a hard time. Even this year when we were playing well, we went and pretty much got stomped by them at their place.
First loss of the year.
Right. And it wasn't close. Like, it wasn't like, oh, darn, next time. It was like, oh, shit, they did it to us again.
Hey, fun fact, if Rhode Island do lose, and Pittsburgh wins, I think Pittsburgh jumps Rhode Island because of the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think it's...
We still have Rhode Island as well.
Right. Well, I mean... is the first tiebreaker head-to-head?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so that's how Indy has an advantage over us.
Oh,
because they can't catch us in goal difference. Like, if they won by 10, they could catch us, but they're not going to win by 10.
If we lose and they win, they catch us, but we have the tiebreaker over Indy because we won one and drew one. Our loss was Open Cup.
All right. Okay. So we have the tiebreaker over Indy. Like, really, the only scenario is they win and we lose.
We play fourth instead of third
because they're 2 points behind us. Pittsburgh is the only I'll just say it again. Like, I fear Louisville in the second round less than I fear Pittsburgh in the first. Really, anybody in the second round is what I'm saying is going to be an easier matchup, I think, than if we get Pittsburgh at our place, just because of the unique alignment of, and it's exactly the kind of scenario that their manager it has a history of successfully exploiting for motivational gain. That's the shit he's into. I do fear that scenario. But everyone else, I feel pretty sanguine about our chances. Like, I think that, there's a reasonable chance. If you want to put $10 on City winning the whole thing, I think that's probably a good idea. Because if you got $10 to spare, you're just going to spend it on like a fucking Starbucks because you're a numpty. Instead put it on City. Like, the odds are probably fairly long. And I got a good feeling. Like, they seem to be like the play on the field points in a good direction.
They're a dangerous team. They're not a team that you want to face.
Right. I think that the rest of the Eastern Conference is like, okay, well, I just really don't want to have to face Detroit. Like, we've beat basically everybody good in the last month or so.
Yep.
Like we've had a little mini playoffs and kicked everyone's ass. So it's like, all right, well, now what? Let's do the real playoffs. Like, I feel good about it.
The only two teams that Detroit City did not beat in the Eastern Conference this year: Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Hartford Athletic. Hartford, one of our last two losses. Detroit City are unbeaten, 13 results in 13 of their last 14, and currently 8 in a row. Number 2 in John Morrissey's rankings. They're the most informed team in the Eastern Conference right now. And furthermore, because the USL Championship final is based off of what teams on points, Detroit City, even with a draw confirms this too, they would, unless it's New Mexico, if Detroit City comes out of the East, they host any of the teams in the Western Conference that's not New Mexico United. So that's the remaining 7 playoff teams in the USL Championship final.
I mean, we're likely to face at least one difficult road match. But only one. So okay.
So I think we're as you can tell, we're already getting ready. Real quick, since I know we got to get ready to go. Adam Spence, any closings?
I think that we tend to narrativize seasons as like these single units, and we are near to learning how this one turns out. I would be surprised at this point if we don't feel pretty goddamn good at the end of the season. However, we have some history with kind of falling apart right at the end of the season. So let's not have that. I just want to see us keep playing the way we're playing for 2, 3, 4, 5 more weeks. And at the end of it, I feel like we'll feel like, all right, that was, we continue our upward trend. At this point, we've confirmed that that's how we're going to feel. Even if we, shit ourselves against San Antonio and Pittsburgh comes to town and beats us 1-0 in a like psychotic death match, I think we still walk away from the season feeling like, all right, well, we're still getting better every season, and expect to do the same in 25.
Yeah, right. Adam, what about you, bud?
Real quick, because I know we have to get off. I had to get
my daughter's.
I
gotta get her to work.
I want to get your real quick thought on this, Spence, though, because
Okay.
it was a big piece of news that came out. MLS thinking about moving to the fall-spring schedule after the 2026 World Cup. Is this a good move for them? And if they in fact do it, is that going to force the lower leagues in the United States to do the same thing?
I think I don't really know if it'll be a good move for them. I think, because I need to see what the weather turns out to be like. I think the first time that we kicked this around on the message boards was in 1996. People have been thinking about this for a long, long time. And the fact is that, the North American winter is significantly rougher than the European winter. However,
Sure.
Climate change is in the process of shutting down the Atlantic circulation, which gives Europe their mild winters. What I'm saying is that if they just hold fire for a few more years, the rest of the world may join us in taking the winters off, because their winters will be much, much worse than they have been historically, like since the industrial age. So yeah, I think MLS is like this is a signifier of their increasing stature on the world stage. That at some level, the executives from MLS who have consistently told anyone who said, "Listen, you ought to just kind of do things the way the rest of the world has done them," and acted like you're a fucking clown for having that opinion. They're tired of getting that question from other executives. Why we got to do these different windows? Like they're constantly having to sort through complaining from like billionaires about like, it's a pain in the ass. And so like, it's really just billionaire commerce shit, like Garber is like, what, fuck it. Like, I'm tired of this. And it will simplify player movement, which if they're going to be a top league in the world, which they've repeatedly said from the beginning that was their goal, is hugely important. It's the players that make the league, not the other way around. Yeah, and so if it's hard, if it's a pain in the ass to go play in your league, you're just not going to get the players. They're going to be like, look, I know Leo came, but like he was done, right? Like it was that or Saudi Arabia, and like and then his wife was like, "I'm not going to fucking Saudi Arabia." So like, okay, Miami then. Like I mean the players in the prime will just go to Europe, and MLS will be left out of the conversation. So I think that's what's driving it. And I like a semi-sarcastically suggest I think they should just hold fire until 2037 when Europe is buried under like 3 feet of snow for 8 weeks. And they're like, we're gonna have to change this.
You guys getting a great idea as to our off-season topics, what some of our material might be in some of our other forms. So just
well, no,
I'm full of topics.
I just need to know real quick though, would this force lower leagues in the United States do the same thing then?
Potentially. I mean, I think you reach a point where there's a vanishingly small group of leagues in the world that are on your same calendar that are easy to deal with. And while it's something you can work around, like having everyone available mid-season like is not great for team building. Sorry, my daughter just texted me. So yeah, maybe. I think it's interesting that MLS is going public with this because I don't think they roll out ideas like this if they aren't planning on fucking doing them.
The surprise from them, it caught me off guard. I think that's going to be my thing on it, but maybe they're like realizing there's a point on that. They want to.
I mean, MLS is a big company within the United States, but when they come up against other soccer organizations, they are not the big dog, and they are so massively enriched by cooperating with those other organizations that both in terms of culture and financially, that it would be foolish to not pursue more of it. And I say this as someone who is reluctantly accepting the bleak 3% chance that in 20 years Detroit City is another franchise of Major League Soccer, the Borg that ate football. We trend toward dystopia, friends.
It reminded me of season 7 of Mad Men when Sterling Cooper became fully submerged by McCann Erickson. Great job on there. That's a fucking deep reference. Adam, do you have anything else, my buddy?
That's it. I'm all set.
All right. Real quick for me, this has been a great run for Detroit City FC. It's going to continue. Look forward to what's coming ahead. Stay tuned. MASL, nothing really. It seems like it's like all of us. Who the fuck's what's going to happen? Who the fuck knows?
If
You're good.
anybody out there is like, a board administrator, they might, with spare time, you might want to get a hold of that league and see if they can't use a little organization.
It seems like
They need some people to do the paperwork and to insist upon the paperwork.
they're close, but the things that they need to sort out are the things holding it up. So who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
With that,
Like that sounds like a description of every process, possibly in the universe.
what's old is new again. So with all that being said, also shout out to Ryan Williams for complimenting on the mustache, saying mine was as good as Michael. Vanity, man.
Wow, that was a huge moment.
That was a great.
I felt good for you.
Yeah, it was a great moment. All right.
It's bigger than Nate's moment.
Yeah, that was nice for Nate. But I mean, what really landed was when Garrett got a compliment about his mustache. That shit was banging.
Nate's moment will be tops on that. The mustache was just.
We're just playing.
I know. All right. Ways you can check out all the show. First off, you can find the man, the myth, the legend, John Spence at Skillscaping on Twitter. Maybe Adam could do one of those cool graphics with the
yeah. Shield chafing.
Shieldchafing@gmail.com. Those that want to reach out that way. The words about Shakes blog. While Sean mentioned nothing out, there will be something. It is the best read you can find for anything soccer in the United States. $3 a month right now, although we are literally seriously suggesting it should be $3.69 a month now.
I will say that, like, if you're curious about the blog, like, there's a lot of it you can read for free. Like, a lot of the history, like stuff from it's the breaking stuff, the new things that usually are paywall, but like anything that's over like a few months old you can usually just read it. So, if you want to see what we're talking about, like, it's free. Go check it out. Like, if that makes you feel like you want to give me $3, then thank you.
Yeah. I even guest stuff because you've accepted my work twice to for guest column pieces. So
I have.
Yeah, it's a great patch to sign up for, especially bang for your buck. Adam, you can find him TMS NX Adam on. It's going to be Twitter. Fuck X. And anything else in particular on that. NGS Trunk or Treat next Wednesday, the 30th of October. I know Den did a good posting for it. Adam talked about it last week. Great initiative being done in where's it at in Hamtramck again, Adam?
I don't know. The information's online.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Like at the community center of the high school or something like that.
Right. You can find me Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GM Comats, DetroitTheMajorsToSports.com for all Majors Detroit content, including all City Make Spence episodes and the 451 Nutsex that I love so dearly. The latest episode of Tunnel Talk is out now in video and audio form, much like this one. So for Adam Hernandez in the Metro West, Garrett Comats here in the Metro East, Sean Spence, the Metro North, the man, the name, the myth, the legend behind City Make Spence. Thank you for checking this out once again. Detroit City continue to roll on in the playoffs, hosting a home playoff match on confirmed date Saturday, November 2nd, to be determined on time. San Antonio, I love your city. I hate your football club. We're fucking you up on Saturday. Until next time, see us.
Awesome.